What's going on, guys? This is the DeFi Crypto Alliance show where we talk primarily about crypto and real estate. We're doing our best to help everybody understand that the crypto is the play, in our humble opinions, over the next couple of years. And so we're doing our best to onboard our friends and family, our fellow entrepreneurs. And so if those are topics that are interesting to you, you've tuned into the right place. In fact, I had a member in the community message me last night on Twitter and say, Dane, my mom has this real estate situation. What would you do? And so I was able to give him some feedback, and it's cool to have the opportunity to help and start getting that reputation. So welcome. We're pumped to have you. Today is going to be a wild show, but of course, before we get into it, Corey, take it away.
Absolutely. It's Corey Geary here. And yeah, you're tuning into the DeFi Crypto Alliance, where we're, like Dane said, trying our best to use cryptocurrency as a wealth creation tool and real estate as a wealth preservation tool. As we love both of this asset class and want to bring them together and change the trajectory of not only of our lives, but our family lives, and hopefully a lot of our friends. We have a lot of friends that we've made in the real estate space, and we love to bring them along for this journey, and some family too. So it's been an awesome time. And man, this has been one heck of a weekend. I've gotten almost zero sleep. It's been retarded. I mean, even last night I tried to sleep, and I even tried to sleep in I have a crypto war room where I do all my crypto work, and I have it all decked out with crypto stuff. And I've been sleeping in there for the first 2 nights when Pulsechain launched. I slept in there. Even last night, I tried to sleep back in my main bedroom, and I woke up at like 3 in the morning. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm like, oh, I wonder what the ratios are. I'll just go look real quick, and then I'll try to go back to sleep. And I go in, I go look real quick, and I try to go back to sleep, and then my head starts turning, and then I couldn't go to sleep. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, why did I even get out of bed to look at Pulsechain? I knew I wasn't going to go back to sleep. And here I am. I'm on 4 cups of coffee this morning, and I'm going to make it to the day somehow. I hope this bridge comes in. I hope, like, this is an awesome, exciting time, but, like, I'm getting so tired.
Well, and I think it's funny, too, with yeah, I'm the same. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night, need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, I'll check the ratios real quick. If I do that, the night's over. Like, I'm screwed. I'm not going back to sleep.
As soon as I look at it, and I'm like, oh, then it's got me sucked in. And
it's wild.
It is. I'm looking at my incentive token that I'm making with my little LP position that I created. And it's like you get that little adrenaline and like dopamine rush. And I think that's why I can't wait till I can just close the computer and sleep at night. It's going to be nice. But I mean, obviously, after the bridge comes in, I'm going to be like, that's when the real work, I think, is going to begin for me, because I got obviously a dry powder bag. I think most of us do. And we're going to be in there, deal hunting, really deal hunting. And like, how am I going to get any sleep? I don't know. And my wife is like going crazy right now.
Yeah. When does the sleep come? I don't know if the sleep's coming.
I got the Hex conference coming up. I'm flying out on Wednesday for that. After the Hex conference, I'm going to Miami. Like, my life is just craziness for the next like 2 or 3 months.
It's wild. It is wild. Well, it's great to have everybody on. We got a number of people on today. This is the dopest comment. Let me bring this up here. Where'd it go? If anyone needs PLS to send transactions, send to Addy. We'll send. Look, there's been people on Twitter that have been helping out, that have been doing stuff in our mastermind. We helped out our students where we sent a bunch of gas and PLS so people could transact early on. I love how helpful the community is. So I wouldn't sleep on this. If you guys need a little bit of PLS to transact, Crypto Elite here has volunteered.
Crypto Elite, he was doing the same thing in Crispy Man's stream this morning. I tuned in for for a few minutes, and he was doing it in there too, man. This is a scholar and a gentleman right here. You are awesome, Crypto Elite. This is amazing. A go-giver mentality.
Love it.
I love it, man. Yeah, abundance, right? Abundance. It's great.
Love it. Everybody's excited. Got our copies. Absolutely. So I know there's been a lot of questions on Twitter, people concerned about getting their copies. There's a little bit of no man's land. We've talked about it on our show between when the fork actually happened and when it went live for public use. And so it sounds like the fork went live Monday evening, at least Monday evening our time in here in the United States, and then went live. What was it? What did it go live the 11th? Yeah, the next day.
It was 12. So May 10th
12th.
was the block height that was forked was on May 10th, whatever day that's in now. I don't even know. Like I'm losing my time.
5 days ago, yeah.
May 10th, and then the actual Richard Hart said, "Hey, mainnet was live," was on the 12th. It's funny, man. I was eating dinner, and I was talking to my boy Terrence because he had called me. He was interested in getting involved with our group and getting into Pulsechain, and I'm talking to him on the phone, and Richard Hart tweets, and I see it come over my phone. I immediately hang up on him. I get up out of the dinner table. I run back to the crypto war room. My wife's like, "What? What happened? What happened? The Pulsechain is live!" I'm screaming. I'm getting to my computer as fast as I can. And yeah, it was a blast, man. It was an absolute blast. I didn't catch anything life-changing as far as ratios go,
Right.
except for I got a little bit of liquidity sucked out of my stable coins. I know you did too, Dane.
Right.
And that was about the only thing I got that was kind of cool. Other than that, I know there were some people, if you were really early, like on one of the first trades, you could have got like 20 pulse to hex. You could have got a really amazing ratio on that, but it was quickly out of the gate changed. Also, the pulse to pulse X, I guess it was like that for the first few seconds. 1 to 1.
Yeah, it was short. We were both there
like,
early, and that
boom.
yeah, that changed so fast.
Yeah, I didn't catch anything cool like that, which I'm okay with because I said I've been packing my bags in a way that I don't need to do that. It would have been nice, but I was happy with the stable coin liquidity that I was able to get out. So other than that, I've just been watching the ratios. It's kind of interesting right now, the hex to pulse ratio. Hex is gaining strength over pulse for probably the last, like, I would say 8 to 10 hours. And same with hex gaining strength over pulse X, where 1 hex is equal to 120 pulse right now. An average was about 1 to 100. And so we've got about a 20% increase. And then same with the pulse X, it's about 1 to 460 to 500 now, which is starting to look a little bit more attractive. Both of these ratios if you're holding hex. But you got to think about it. You know where this is coming from? And I got the mindset from a beat. A beat was like, "Hey, I'm going after hex," because he sacrificed a bunch of hex for pulse, and now he's able to buy that hex back basically for him at a penny cost basis.
Sure.
For him, it's a penny per hex, and so he's low in his bags, and I'm sure he's got billions of pulse. Right. And so he's able to go the other way for a good portion of his bag. And I'm thinking a lot of the whales right now, that's what they're doing. When they have billions of pulse or billions and billions of pulse X, they're trying to get that initial hex bag back.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see what they believe in, what tokens they're most excited about. Everybody has a little bit of their own strategy. When it launched, yeah, my wife, she was out front. I ran out and I was like, "You're in charge," and she's in charge of the kids. I ran down and we were off to the races, which is a lot of fun. Let's talk about, if you guys have been tuning in, we've been doing our best to spread the word to help people have awareness. Some of the worst. Oh man, let me see if I can find them. Just breaks my heart.
Yeah,
Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, there's some stories of people getting wrecked.
Brutal.
Which we knew was going to happen. I mean, you guys had a test net. I mean, for years. Literally, we had a test net for years, and people still, I guess, refuse to go on there and play around or tune in and do some due diligence on some of this stuff, right? The community has been preaching for the last 2 years what to do and not do with some of this stuff. And some of the stuff was good advice.
Yeah. All right. Let me let me share my screen. Here we go. Present. All right, share screen. Pair screen. Here we go. Okay, I'll drag this one over here. Okay, you guys can see. So this was there's been a lot of these. So this person, apparently they sold their Pulsex for 900K USDT. And keep in mind, all of the stable coins that are copied over to Pulsechain right now, they're all in theory, right? We don't know anything for sure. All of this stuff is unknowable, but theoretically, this is like counterfeit money. It's all going to go to zero here very quickly. In fact, we've seen it. The liquidity pools to swap out from your stables have largely been drained. You just don't get hardly anything out of them anymore, from what I've seen. And so there were people early on that were swapping their Pulsex, their Pulse for these stables that are going to zero, and they're going to essentially be left with almost nothing. So brutal. I saw another one. They swapped theirs for DAI and then tried to send it to the exchange account to cash out. And they're like, why hasn't it worked? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this hurts so bad.
Yeah.
So be careful out there. Be careful.
Yeah, there's guys getting wrecked, and there's some guys who are absolutely killing it, playing the ratio trading back and forth, who are making a crap ton of money. I know Motley has. I had a quick conversation with him. He killed it with the ratio trading. And so it looks like Mike James in the comments did too. He says, I made 100x with ratio trading. I made 100x with ratio trading. I'm going to try to hit a record when if the bridge opens. He's saying if. So that's awesome. There's some people really knocking it out of the park. I'm mostly sitting on my hands. I did a little bit of ratio trading just to kind of balance my bags, if you will. But that's about it. I'm not trying to like game out any extra economic energy out of the ratio.
Yeah. The one thing that I did do, I swapped about 30% of my Pulsex. We missed the Pulse sacrifice, so I swapped about 30% of my Pulsex for Pulse. It's enough where, I'm pretty satisfied with that. There very well may come an opportunity to be able to swap some of that back to get my Pulsex position back very cheaply. So we'll see. But even if that isn't the case, I feel pretty comfy where I'm at with that particular trade. Time will tell. Yeah. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real ratios begin when the bridge opens. You haven't seen anything yet. Absolutely. And in fact, I think that's a really important talking point. Let me share my screen again. So I like come on, screen. Okay, where is it? Right. Where are you, Pulse Stream? He is right. And I'm just going to quote him. But essentially, so some of us have been doing a little bit of yield farming, which has been a blast. So we've been earning the incentive token. If you guys are participating there, it's been a lot of fun. And the ratios have been pretty stable on most of the pairs, especially the Richard Hart stuff. It's been really relatively stable here out of the gate. When the bridge opens, I would argue that we're going to see massive volatility. And if you leave your positions in place and your liquidity providing, well, that's when impermanent loss can really kick in. You can get destroyed. We have experienced it firsthand before Pulsechain launched on the Ethereum network. And so be really aware of that. If you want to leave some in, Corey and I have been talking a lot over the weekend, and Corey makes a great point. If you want to leave some in, to keep getting the incentive token, that's probably not the worst idea, but you've got to be willing to punt that position, essentially, to assume that it's gone. And, or at least I think that's a good way to frame it and think of it. Would you agree, Corey?
Absolutely. And you're going to earn this incentive token over time. Obviously, how much you earn will slow down, but ideally you would want to try to maybe buy that position back if you can. It might take 2, 3, maybe even longer months. So that's about it. And then if you're able to buy the position back, then at that point, then you have a perpetual money printer because you've gotten your principal back. But, only do, I would say, whatever small position you're willing to basically let go. That's how I would really frame it. We don't know what the value of Pulse is going to be in the future. We don't know what the value of Pulsex is going to be in the future. And remember, when you're providing liquidity, you're always left holding the bag that is the least of value, right? The lesser of the two. so you got to be careful with that because we just don't know what any of this is going to do. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's so important to highlight because, and we've done it before too, right? We'll put up a pair and we're like, oh, I'm cool owning either one of these,
and then
one goes like this and the other goes like
really
this.
not.
That does not feel nice. I am not cool with owning either one of them.
No, I don't like it either, man. I had that happen a couple times in my liquidity providing journey, and you gotta be careful.
Right.
You gotta be careful. So I do a little one, scratch the itch, do a little one, and like you said, you punt it out and you forget about it, and that's it. And you earn yourself a tiny bit of ink while we're moving along, and that kind of scratches the itch for me. And that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Here's a great question. I have a bag of PUSDC that I wasn't aware of. I guess it's too late to swap it, or should I wait? No, like now once again, we don't give any financial advice on this show. For Corey and I, we feel very, very confident that these copied over stables are going to be, they're already largely valueless, and they will only continue to get more or they will only continue to lose value. And so we were very comfortable dumping all of ours for Pulsechain, PulseX, Hex, one of those three, because we're big believers in the Richard Hart ecosystem. You could consider doing that if you felt the same. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah, ratio trading is basically guessing what people are going to do. If you know what's going to happen at the bridge, you're going to kill it. Yeah, it's true.
I agree with that, and I think that's why your play earlier, Dane, is probably a smart one, because I feel like most people who are trying to get into the ecosystem who have FOMO, what are the first assets they're going to buy? Well, it's probably going to be Pulse.
Well, they have to. They have to buy it for.
They have to, right? And
else.
They have to,
they
right?
They have to buy it,
right? There's that too. But I feel like they're going to FOMO buy that. Imagine when Pulse starts the green candles. Oh my God, it's just going to be insane. And then you're going to see like retail be retail, people be people. They're going to be dumping PulseX again. They'll be dumping Hex again, and you're going to see this whole. That's what I think might happen. It's hard to say.
Yep, agreed. Let's look at, okay, so this is a good one. Where do you think the price will go for both PulseX and Pulse during launch and after the first cycle, judging from the amount of burnt tokens? So this is wild. There's a lot of factors. So I'll give my 2 cents, and then Corey, you give, or actually, Corey, why don't you lead with this one?
I think the price of both Pulsex and Pulse will do during launch after the first cycle, judging the amount of. And it's hard to say. I mean, I feel like, I mean, the first cycle.
What are the factors? Maybe that's a good way to go about this. Like, what are the factors you're considering and trying to determine what you think may happen?
One of the factors I'm considering is the amount of sell pressure we're going to have to get through. There's a lot of big dogs in the ecosystem who sacrifice massive, where, if they get a 10x, a 15x, a 20x, they can really hurt the price. It will change their bags or their lives forever. Somebody who sacrificed $1 million, they get a 20x. That's pretty substantial. That's a lot of money. You know
right.
what I mean? That person might have even used leverage to get that $1 million. And so you don't know. And we're still in a bear market. People are still hurting. So, it's hard to say. I think we're going to have to go through a lot of sell pressure. There's a lot of weight holding Pulse and PulseX down, I think, in the beginning. Now, we can get through that, and there will be a great just distribution of wealth when we do that, and I think that's going to happen. How fast it happens, I don't know. We're not even close to the Bitcoin halving yet. But, I mean, during the market cycle, like in 2025, I believe, we can reach, maybe 1,000x for Pulse, maybe a 500x for PulseX. This is like that for me is moon math. I feel like 100x for both assets is very realistic.
Oh yeah, I feel pretty confident about 100. If we do a freaking 100x, like, that's wild. It is an enormous amount of money for everybody involved in the ecosystem that was willing to hold that long. And I think a lot of people overlook. So here's a few other factors that I've been considering. I think a lot of people give, frankly, too much credit especially in the early stages, to people that are like whales or
They do.
sharks. And they say, oh,
the
these are this is the smart money. These are the sophisticated guys. And then we go see those guys do swaps through MetaMask swap. Like, they're not all sophisticated. They don't, they're not all crypto people that know what they're talking about.
Yep.
And I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if some of those guys are tired. They don't believe in Richard anymore. They don't want to be involved, and they go and market sell. They're not paying attention to the slippage and the price impact, and there's big red candles.
You're going to see a lot of it. Large money, it does not mean smart money. It doesn't. No. Yeah, and the whole narrative, I heard it in the Twitter chat the other night. I was just, oh my God, it makes the narrative like, oh, these guys are Hetzikins. They know how to hold. They know how to diamond hand. No, these guys are people. They're human beings, and they're going to have human being behavior. And we've seen this every single time at every launch. It's different this time. No, this time will be different. How many times you hear that narrative everywhere in crypto? This time is different. Really? No.
How many people did you see on Twitter that have been touting for years, oh, don't ratio trade, it's so dangerous? And then they're bragging this week about, doing it. Look at all these cool ratios I did. Man, come on. Like, yeah, people are going to be people. And one of the beautiful things about Hex, launch early on is a lot of those people, they staked and they largely forced themselves to be diamond handed. You can't force yourself. Well, I mean, there's some things, but you largely, you can't largely force yourself though to be diamond handed with Pulse and Pulsex. They're going to be liquid, and arguably there will be decent liquidity, here after the ecosystem's up and chugging along after the first few months. So, what do people do? What type of person are you? Do you have the ability to hold all that type of stuff? And also keep in mind, nobody, or I should say hardly anybody, buys the perfect bottom and sells the perfect top. So if you say, hey, like we do 100x, well, there's a decent chance you probably, if you bought kind of the bottom and sold kind of the top, maybe you got a 50x or 60 or 70 out of that 100. Like, you're probably not going to get that full range. And so I think it's really healthy, at least for me, to have very, conservative estimates and hopes and dreams and expectations and all that type of stuff, so that, you can manage yourself well.
Yeah. Because, I don't know if you saw Walrus. He talked about it a couple times, and people asked him, oh, give us your price prediction. And he goes, my price prediction is that I'll do a 10x. And he goes, whatever's on sale, I'm buying, because I'm only expecting a 10x. That's all I want, is a 10x. I don't want anything beyond that, and I want to buy what's on sale because I know I'm going to get a 10x. That's the way he looks at it. That's it. So he's just going in with a very low expectation. If it probably will. It's going to probably do way more than a 10x.
Yeah.
If you have that mindset going in and just buying what's on sale, especially after the bridge when people are dumping, then you're going to do well in this game, I feel like, if you approach it from that standpoint. And then, of course, you hold. I mean, that doesn't mean you sell on a 10x. Yeah, unless you need the money. Everyone's financial situation is different. I mean, obviously, you might need the money. But, yeah, that's the mindset to have. It's like this, 10,000x is, can one of these do it? Of course.
Yeah.
It can.
And we like moon math with the best of them. We get it. We like the euphoria. It's fun to look at and whatnot. But I think there's a lot of people that are going to shoot themselves in the foot. They're not going to sell in 2025. Theoretically, should be the next top. If cycles continue, they're not going to sell because they have too high a price targets, and they're going to be the ones that are left holding the bag.
Yeah, play the market cycle. That is critical. And you got to remember, guys, there's trillions of tokens in the Pulsex and Pulse. There's trillions, literally. I think Pulsex is 142 trillion, which is weird. They trimmed down the supply on the available supply. I'm not sure why RH did that. That's really weird. Maybe because he wanted to match it more closely to Pulse, because Pulse is 135 trillion. And so maybe that's why he wanted to match it. But remember, guys, that's trillions of supply. You're going to tell me that they're not going to be some sell pressure there. And I was listening to Buck early this morning in the space. It was fun because he was arguing with the Zen guys, and I just love listening to that guy argue. He's so entertaining. He's one of my favorite characters in the Hex community, bar none. So I'm listening to him, and he did point out that, you know, if you really want a 1000x mover, go find the sleeper small cap coin that no one's going to talk about, that's going to like surprise everybody. That's the one that's going to, it could be like something like Fiat, right? Or famous, or maybe it's something like Mintra. We haven't heard about Mintra in a long time, and maybe that comes out and everyone will be flooding in. It'll get dumped, and then maybe he'll create something in the protocol that will surprise everybody. Those are the ones that are going to, like, those are the kind of ones that that will do the 1000x. It's the small supply, not a lot of people are involved. They do something, they do something. What's the word I'm looking for? That
revolutionary.
Revolutionary. Thank you. That revolutionary. They kind of make this like, and then they bring all this money in all at once, right? People buying, and so those are the ones that are going to do a 1000x. It's the ones that you least expect. Do you want that's why you have the meme coins kind of do so well sometimes, you know? And so, yeah, it'll be interesting.
And to catch those, a lot of the time you got to buy them when it feels like the thing is dead and dying and is never going to come back. It feels so wrong. And that's when you've got to buy it to catch those stupid.
Pushing that buy button sucks. Like, it hurts. Yeah. And I've done that a couple times on some of these assets. It's like, oh, it doesn't feel right. And yeah, and that's the gamble you're taking, because then maybe it's not right. It could just you're buying something that does die, right? You could, your intuition could be telling you the right thing. Or
performs really slowly. Maybe it only does a 5x or 10x. Your money would have been better allocated elsewhere. It's unknowable. It really is
unknowable.
And so, on the end of the day, I'm trying to remember the terminology. It'll come to me. But your bet, in our opinion, so the way that we think about the Richard Hart tokens, you just anytime I should say, most smart investors, they're looking for two things oftentimes. The first is they say, hey, what's the likelihood that I get my initial investment back? That's the first thing. If you have any qualms or big questions about that, then make no mistake, you're betting on a lottery ticket. That's what that is.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is they're saying, hey, what do I feel like my upside here is? What is my potential return? And that's where, in our opinions, we really like the Richard Hart tokens, because we feel like the first question is very likely Corey and I are comfortable holding for multiple years. Like, that's part of the plan. And so frankly, I have pretty much no qualms or concerns that I'm going to get rug pulled and scammed.
Yeah.
And you've got to come to your own conclusions on that. There's many people that feel differently in that respect. And then 2, we've seen Richard Hart is a genius in game theory and how he builds stuff to pump. His report card, I think it was Johnny Chaos that said this on our stream, is he said Richard's report card for his cryptocurrencies is the price chart. He wants the best report cards, the best price charts in crypto. And so, you know, he's shown himself to be able to build those really well. And so that's where our core, Sami talks about on his show. If you're not tuning into your friend Sami, you're missing a ton of alpha. He does an excellent job. I agree with almost everything that he says. He talks about having your core assets, not 90% of your stuff in core assets. I know that for Corey and I, that our core assets are Richard Hart stuff. And then once you dabble outside of that, you know, you're stepping outside of the core. And so that's how we build our bags and how we think of it.
Yep. I agree 120%.
Cool. Let's see. You guys have all sorts of good questions. What's the best country to live in as a crypto guy to settle for life?
Oh, that's an amazing question. There's a few of them that are very crypto friendly. If you talk to Randy Halarski, he loves Panama. Me and Dane, we're staying United States citizens, and we're going to go to Puerto Rico to participate in the tax break they give us out there. I've heard Singapore is great, and they're a crypto-friendly country. Dubai is another one that's supposedly really good.
I think Portugal as well.
Portugal is really good. But you got to keep in mind, I don't know you might have to end up giving your citizenship up to partake in those tax breaks, and so you need to find out from I don't know what country you live in, Crypto Elite, or what, tax jurisdiction you're in, but it's different all over the world, right? It's just you got to find out what works for you. So like I said, me and Dane, we're going to do the Puerto Rico option. I feel pretty good about that. In fact, you guys will tune into me when we get back. I'm leaving this Wednesday and going to the Hex conference, and then from there, after the Hex conference, I'll be in Puerto Rico for a month. And then I'll have our, like right now I'm 95%. I know I'm going to move in there, but like there's a 5%. I need to go out there and stay on the island for a month. I will know for sure when I get back from that trip. That's when I'll be like, okay, we are 100%. Let's go. I mean, I'm so sure, but I start selling awesome stuff in my house. I'm gonna miss it. I had a cold plunge tank that I enjoyed doing. I love cold plunges. It makes me feel like, euphoric in the morning. I sold that because I know I'm not going to take that to Puerto Rico. And
so a Corvette yet?
And that's gonna be the last to go, bro.
I get it. Hey, I get it, man. You can zip around during the summer, sell it fall, no problem.
Gosh, yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna hurt when I sell that. But hey, that's just more money, I can bring into the crypto space.
You can buy 10 Corvettes later on.
Right, out of that money. That's
exactly. Right. So I would say, long story short, make sure that you check with a CPA, with an attorney, according to your jurisdictions. From the research that we've done, at least for United States residents, you're going to pay taxes no matter where you live in the world. You can set up businesses elsewhere and do some different things. You can get creative. There's ways to be more creative than others. And so I would just exercise a lot of caution in how you do that. Make sure that you talk to multiple resources, cross-check all the information. Everybody's got something to sell. And so just be really wise in how you do that. For us as United States residents, we feel like Puerto Rico is the play. It's not only, once again, back to the Richard Hart stuff, it's safe in that it's defined. The government likes this, is fine with that. You don't have to do any special, ninja CPA work to try to make your gains go away. So that's why we like Puerto Rico.
I feel like it's a very low barrier to entry to do it. It's very, you could change your mind after you do it if you don't want to do it anymore. I mean, there's no consequences really, except for if you went out there and you did it, you changed your mind, you wouldn't be able to do it again in the future. I know that's one issue, but I really don't see a downside, except for maybe living on the island and some stuff being difficult. I was in a Twitter Spaces about a month ago, and a guy was he lives in Puerto Rico, and he's like, yeah, I fly to Miami once every couple months so I can go shopping at Costco. I'm like, that feels a little inconvenient. I'm going to fly to Miami from Puerto Rico to go shopping at Costco. So I'm like,
there will be some inconveniences.
They're right. And I want to figure that out. I want to figure out what are the inconveniences and can I live with them? And that's the part that, we'll see.
Yep. Let's talk about, I know there's a huge amount of FUD and concern about gas fees over on Pulsechain. Jack Levin and his band of misfits are spamming the network. And it's interesting. I didn't feel any certain way about Zen before Pulsechain launch, and then it felt like Jack came over and tried to infect my family with cancer and gave everybody the bird, and I did not like that. That's how it felt like to me. How did it feel like to you, Corey?
Me too, man. I'm a Zen mentor. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm not a maxi. Like I said, I adopt crypto the way the Sami does it. I have my blue chips that I have 90% of my bag in, maybe even a little less. Or the rest of my bag, I'm doing other things. Zen minting's one of them. Pulse Bitcoin's one of them. Although Pulse Bitcoin's been hurting, especially on the Ethereum network, I hope they could pull it off on Pulsechain. Please, guys. But yeah, Zen minting, I've been doing it, and I felt like it could have a place in crypto. But yeah, it really made me mad that. Because here's what he did. Here's what makes me mad. If it was just Zen, I wouldn't have an issue with that. He could have kept the old contract in place.
Right.
This is the problem I have, because it's supposed to be fair crypto. Well, a lot of people were minting Zen on Ethereum, including myself, where we paid a little bit more gas because we had the anticipation, like, oh, I'm going to get my copy on Pulsechain, so I get a 2-for-1 on these mints. I could be minting on AVAX for much cheaper. I could be minting on Phantom for much cheaper. But no, a lot of us chose to mint on Ethereum because we knew and anticipated that we we're going to get the 2-for-1. And Jack had even said that. He never said he was going to. In fact, he said that if Richard Hart cut out Zen, that he would not relaunch the contract. He said that. He said if Pulsechain launches, they keep Zen, then it will operate as normal. That's what he said. Literally, dude. So he kind of went back on what he said because now Pulsechain launched, and instead of like, keeping things like normal, and obviously we can still go in there mint from the same C rank. He's like, I'm going to scratch everything and start everything all over and deploy all of my contracts at the same time, completely infecting the blockchain, completely just causing these gas fees. I mean, it's not expensive to transact, but it's ridiculous. And a lot of pulses get burnt, which that's good, except for a lot of people are spending a lot of pulse. It was a deliberate attack on the Pulsechain network for sure.
Right.
And I don't like that. I don't like that. Why not just keep this the way it was? The way we keep it rolling from the Ethereum chain.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's frustrating. I had some liquid Zen in one of my wallets because I had a Zen FT come due on the Ethereum network like probably 3 weeks ago. It was a full VMU, and I was keeping it, for the X1 chain. I was going to burn it whenever I had the opportunity for something that's decent. I feel like there's really nothing decent yet. But on the Pulsechain side, once I heard that, I went there and I was able to suck out some liquidity on the Pulsechain side and get some pulse for it. Yeah. I swapped it. Once I figured out, he told me he's going to X out the contract. I'm like, man, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. I know you're not. We're in some other rooms where there's some really pissed off, Hexicans who also are Zenians who are really pissed off. And so it just sucks,
Yeah.
But the thing is, it will calm down. People are going to get, through all those C ranks. They're going to get, they're going to spend all this pulse. It's going to mellow down after some time, and it will return back to normal. It's just, it sucks right now. And I really think, and I could be wrong, I really think that RH is postponing the bridge a little bit just because of that, because he knows if he deploys the bridge, what happens is that now we're going to get into another gas auction type war for the bridge on top of the auction war that's already happening with Zen. It's just going to amplify those gas fees, I think, even more if he were to deploy the bridge while the Zenians are in there doing what they do. And it sucks because imagine Pulse does 100x. So right now you're spending like 50 cents for a transaction. Maybe it's a little less. Well, 100x now you're what is that? $5, $10 a transaction. What if we 1000x? What is it then? Then we're back to Ethereum.
Yeah.
We're back to Ethereum, and we're at the fork Pulsechain all over again.
Now, if we get there, we're all loaded, so like it'll be fine. But yeah, the people that are late to the game,
I'm not spending my valuable Pulse minting Zen on Pulse. No, I'll mint Zen on AVAX. I'll mint Zen on Phantom. I'll even mint it on Ethereum if we get the gas fees back down. But I'm not minting Zen on Pulsechain, man. This is my home. I like my Pulse. I'm not spending my future dollars a penny value.
You're not going to crap where you eat, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how Johnny Chaos would say. You could with Hex, you could buy your future dollars for pennies. Well, I'm not going to spend my future dollars for pennies either. No. That's what kind of a Pulse is to me right now. If you're minting a bunch of Zen, now you might get some value out of your Zen. Yeah,
sure. So a lot of people have concerns about like, what do they do? Because the faucet that, at least the one we saw in testnet, it'd give you like 10 pulse a day. And that was plenty. Like you could transact forever on the testnet for like 90% of the time it was up for fractions of a pulse. And so I was like, oh, that'll be good. You have the guys over at freepulse.io that, with the higher gas fees on Pulsechain in pulse terms, not necessarily in dollar terms. There sounds like they'll be spinning up soon. So if you need Pulse to transact, because this is a tricky thing that a lot of people I don't think are grasping well, when the bridge opens and you bridge your capital over, you have to have Pulse on the other side to do anything with it. If you bridge your hex over but you have no Pulse, you can't do anything with the hex in regards to swapping it or staking it or whatever you want to do. And that goes for all of the tokens. So I was reading through Twitter, and KDP, shout out to her. She's a wealth of knowledge for the community. She creates really good content. She is saying, and I think there's a few other guys that are saying it too, but essentially what could happen is some potentially benevolent actor, now we'll have to wait and see, but they could take their Pulse, they could bridge it to Ethereum and have wrapped Pulse over there so people could buy the wrapped Pulse and then bridge it back to Pulse where it would just become regular Pulse. And now you've got some that you can transact with and do whatever you're going to do. So I think that's relatively likely. The question is when, how long does that take? How much is there? Is it very liquid? All those types of things. And keep in mind with any new, blockchain, any new protocol, liquidity is typically thin early on. And you're going to get some of your best buys historically in the first 90-ish to 120-ish days. So be patient. You don't need to FOMO all in today. If the bridge opens, there'll be plenty of opportunity.
Yep.
Cool. PX into Pulse, good deal, quick swap, and after bridge of Pulse, does it a 10x go back to PX? Hey, man, that's the question. Like, what happens if it's opposite? What if Pulse is a little bit laggy out of the gate and PHEX is the one that rips because Hexkins want to buy up the Hex? Like, all of this stuff is unknowable. And so, you've got to make bets in such a way that you're comfortable if you're wrong and you're comfortable if you're right. You're hedging risk either way. And so it's don't end up on Coinfessions. Man.
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, retired people will still be making passive income with hex staking. Certainly. And like we talked about early on in the show, people want to give hexakins in general a lot of props, saying they're diamond-handed and they're smart. Hey, we've seen a lot of big guys sell out their bags at the bottom. Like we're not here to judge, what their financial situation is, and good for them. They were up massively on those early hex bags, even at the bottom of this last market. So good for them. Everybody has every right to do whatever they're going to do with their own bags. But gosh, that didn't seem like the wisest decision I've ever seen.
They could have just waited a month or two and they would have had 2 or 3 or 5 times the value.
Right. Hang on, you swap sides on the screen. No. All right.
Maybe us. I need some because you're on this side. I'm usually on the. I'm usually on the other side.
I got it. All right, let's find some of the questions here. I believe also RH can absorb the 2B sacrificer with the sacrificer money. Imagine it, and also like, does he want to, and when? Like, I think that we have not seen, from what I could tell, and if I'm wrong, Corey, or anybody in the chat, feel free to say so, but we have not seen like liquidity bonded between all of the RH tokens like Johnny thought could happen. We haven't seen that right out of the gates.
No.
Not to say that it couldn't, but if it does, when is that, and how, and what are the ratios at that point if they truly are bonded together? And the cool thing about that is, like, it's not particularly hard, and Richard doesn't even necessarily need to be the one to do a lot of it. You could just go into the farms with the liquidity providing and incentivize people to provide liquidity between his stuff. So that could all be done pretty naturally. And but neither Corey nor I are having expectations of Richard needing to save us and save the price action and bond everything together. So I'd just be once again,
I agree.
Wisdom and expectations.
If I was the OA or Greg the Duck, wouldn't I want like all the chaos and the big mess that's everything that's happening right now and after the bridge to kind of play out, and then bring in whatever massive liquidity you want to do, or bonding or whatever have you. I would want paper hands to be paper hands. People who are going to get wrecked, let them get wrecked. People who have long-term mindset, let them gather their bags at cheap prices. Just stuff like that. Let the ecosystem kind of work itself out. then I would bring in the large amounts of money and do what I was going to do. If I was Greg the Duck, I'm not. So
right. Talk about getting wrecked. Did you see the what's her name on Twitter? She's an influencer. I think her name is Jenna something or other.
Oh yeah.
And she was fudding Hex, and then she was fudding Pulsechain, and then she was asking how to get her Pulse back because she sent it over to the test net. Apparently, like, yep. Are you new here? Apparently so. Holy cow!
Very new. Yeah.
Jeez.
Very new. Yeah, she's an XRP. She also mints Zen. She's a Zen and XRP.
Now, that being said, there's plenty of new people that are here. There will be plenty of new ones that are come. So, you know, like, I don't want to talk bad about anybody. We're here to help. If we can help, you know, we're here to do that. I recommend everybody do the same. We need to onboard these people. They have communities. They have people that look up to them. If we can help finesse a better experience, our bags get pumped.
That's 100% correct. Speaking of bags pumped, guys, there's 138 in here. Hit the likes, hit the subscribes. It helps the algorithm pumping all of our bags.
Yes, please. We appreciate you guys being here. If the fees are 5 to 10K Pulse now, and that's without a bridge, what will the fees look like when it's open? I haven't been paying 5 to 10K Pulse. Have you, Corey?
I have not been paying that much. I think they were that high when
I think that was at the very height of it.
When Jack opened up all the contracts.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've done a handful of transactions. There were like 2,000 to 3,000 Pulse.
I could potentially look right now. I got my computer here now. Let me see. Like, if I wanted to do a swap, let's see what that would look like. I won't confirm it, but I just want to see what the gas is going to be. What I'm getting.
Yeah, people saying 10K Pulse is still cheap. Yeah, now it is, but what happens when Pulse pumps? Do you know if there's work being done to improve this, or is it just how it is? I mean, Corey and I talked about this at pretty good length. So the way you play any financial game, every single one, the people that are early are the ones that benefit. We look at it with Ethereum, or frankly, you could look at it with real estate or stocks or any asset class. The people that are in early and are patient and wait and are able to delay gratification, they're the ones that benefit the most. So do you think that ETH fees matter to ETH whales or ETH sharks or dolphins? They don't care. Let's go spend the ETH. Like, it means nothing to them because they're up so much. And so, you know, like, if Pulsechain really does do 100x, 1,000x, a 10,000x, those of us that are here early that are packing our bags, well, we're the ones that benefit. We're the ones that are early. So this isn't like, in my opinion, now once again, you've got to develop your own. In my opinion, this isn't something to like be worried about or been out of shape over. Like Corey said, I think things could calm down. And even still, like in dollar terms, that's really freaking cheap. I mean, 10,000 Pulse, isn't that like a penny or 10 cents?
Yeah, and I just checked that. I mean, if I wanted to do a swap right now, it wasn't 10,000. It was like 1,500 or something like that.
Yeah. But even if we say 10,000, I mean, at the best sacrifice rate, that's $1 a swap. And then certainly, like, if it does a 10x, then it's $10 a swap, and we're still at 10,000. If it does 100x, now it's $100. So yeah, this could absolutely get like Ethereum. I hope it does, because I'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Like, that would be excellent.
And I think you got to remember, guys, who we're putting you invest in the operator, right? This is like anything we do in life. When we invest in real estate, we invest in we have oil and gas projects we're doing. Like, you invest in the operator. So we're not just investing in Pulsechain, but we're also investing in Richard Hart. And Richard Hart has said if Pulsechain's fees gets like Ethereum, that he would fork it again. And so, like, he's going to have a plan. Invest in the operator, knowing that he is our general in this, and he will make sure. I feel very confident, no matter what, Pulsechain will succeed.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
And I'm talking about succeed beyond one market cycle, 2 market cycles, even 3 market cycles. And whether that means he's got to do something to fix the fees or even fork it again, because he's already said he will fork it again if the fees get out of whack. And if we do 100x, it could happen. If we do 1,000x, there's definitely going to need to be something to be done. and it could be him forking it again. Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's on the ETH roadmap to implement sharding to make fees
There's that
cheaper.
too.
And honestly, even if the Ethereum devs drag their feet on that, we don't see that for another cycle or two. There's no reason that Richard's devs couldn't like nail that down. It just depends on priorities and where they want to spend time. And like I said, right now, in my opinion, it's not the time to worry about it. I'm not worried at all. And I hope it gets expensive really quick in dollar terms, because that means we're all loaded to the hilt. So not something to worry about.
It's funny, as much as we kind of were talking trash here about the whole Zen thing. And guys, I don't hate Zen or hate Jack 11. Let me just put that out there. I meant Zen, so please don't post in the comment how much you hate me and stuff. But yeah, I was listening to him at a Twitter this morning, and I will agree with something, is that this forces evolution in blockchain. Now we're going to have to evolve beyond this. Obviously, it's been a problem in Ethereum even way before Zen. So this is showing us that this could be a problem in Pulsechain in the future. So whether it's a fork with a different structure, it's going to force Richard Hart maybe to go, you know what, I need to fix this, and let's do it this way now. It's going to force the evolution of crypto and blockchains as a whole in the future. And it might not be this cycle. It could be the cycle after that. But it does do that. And so it's really interesting to watch it play out and see what happens. But I don't anticipate even these fees to stay up this high for very long. Like I said, he deployed all these contracts at once and told everyone to start over. Once everyone kind of gets caught up and gets all these minting out of their system, they're going to be back to where they were at, and it's going to calm down how it is on Ethereum. It will happen. It's just a matter of it's because he started all over. If he didn't do that, there would still be people minting on here, but it wouldn't be the ridiculousness that we're seeing right now.
Right.
It's because he started everything over and told everyone, hey, your old mints don't count. That's bullshit, but that's what he did. And so, yeah, it will calm down, guys. It's going to calm down. We're going to see the cheap, even in Pulse terms, fees again. I feel very confident in that.
Yeah. If you expose everybody to cancer, most will die and some will evolve. And that's essentially what Jack Levin is doing.
Unbanned Production said it very good there. It says exactly, competition helps evolution. It really does. It helps evolve. It happens in business. When you have a business and then another business opens up across the street, they do something a little better because they were trying to compete. Now this other business has got to do something better again to compete back. That's how it works. We saw that in our real estate business. There'll be a new marketing technique that come out. Our old marketing technique wouldn't work as much no more because it get too competitive. We'd have to evolve to the new marketing technique to try to get those deals again. This is how a business evolves and operates. So it's exciting to be on the cutting edge of all this and make mad gains all while this is happening. It's such a fun ride. And
here's a good question. Is 10 million pults enough to make it? I think at best sacrifice rates, that's roughly about $1,000. And so, you've got to define for you what is making it
mean.
There's not many lottery tickets that people buy for $1,000 that turn them into millionaires. That being said, crypto is one of those places where that absolutely could happen. So, 1,000 to a million, you've got to have 1,000x. And you've got to catch the 1,000x, the whole move.
That's the hard part. I really feel like that's the incredibly hard part, because that 1,000x can literally be a candle that wicks up on the minute chart. And were you at your computer when that candle wicked? You know what I mean? Or that extra 40% you could have grabbed. Yeah, that's the incredibly hard part, because when everyone's comparing charts, they're comparing the all-time bottom to the all-time high. What if Pulse dips below sacrifice price? I know everybody's like, oh my God, don't say that. That's just FUD. We got to be realistic and understand it could. And what if it dips down below sacrifice chart? I guarantee you Richard Hart's going to use that price point on the chart.
Oh, 100%.
He's not going to use the sacrifice price no more. It's not. Right now, we only use sacrifice price because that's all we know. That's it. Right. It's just all we know.
Right.
Let's answer his question. So, so it could be enough I would say I can't pronounce her name. My wife might be able to pronounce it, but I would say it would be very advantageous for you to continue to DCA in throughout the rest of this bear market. Like, I feel like you have a good starting point.
Yeah.
You've established a nice bag right out of the gate. You don't have to worry about gas fees. That's nice. And continue to DCA in over time. You have about a year into the next Bitcoin halving. We are in a bear market. This is a time for accumulation. Watch what happens when the bridge comes in. Maybe sit back for a little bit. Let all the volatility get worked out. And then when you see some dips, get in there and grab yourself some. That would be my advice too, is at the 10 million pulse enough.
That's what Corey would do with his own bags if that was the position that he was in. We don't give financial
advice. There we go.
Make your own decisions.
Thank you. That we were just dudes on the internet speculating on what we would do.
Yep, absolutely. ICOSA's on sale. Yeah, I mean everything in the Richard Hart ecosystem or loosely tied to it on Ethereum is on sale. And so if you want to go and scoop that stuff up.
Do you know what was on sale? It pisses me off. Pulse Bitcoin on Ethereum. They pulled the liquidity, bro.
Almost free out there, man.
They pulled the liquidity at the fork, and then Hex Info comes out and goes, "Hey, Pulse Bitcoin was built only for Pulsechain." Really, bro? I couldn't get nothing out of that. I got a little bit. I mean, I had to smash. I'm a shark in that ecosystem, so I had to really bring down my orders really small to get anything out of the liquidity pools. It was oh my god, it was brutal. I was there for like an hour executing orders.
Yeah.
To get anything out.
This is a fun conversation. We'll have to talk about this more, but Alex is a building machine. So Alex said that he has been building an ecosystem that will launch both on Ethereum and on Pulsechain, where it will be a place where people can come and specifically sell their WhatsAs, sell their HSIs. And it's cool because you don't have to just, like with your HSIs with ICOSA, just sell them to the ICOSA contract and you get what you get. You can set your own terms. You can leave it up for free bidding or free market bidding, I should say. And so it's cool. It's going to be up to you. And in order to come and bid on that stuff, well, people are going to have to bid with ICOSA, just like in the HSI auctions. The only way to bid on that stuff is with Hedron. Well, with this new protocol, the only way to bid on that is with ICOSA. And guess what? Nobody got a 10x minting bonus that they were able to capitalize on, that they've had stakes for years, that they could come and dump because maybe they made the staker app and they think that that's a great idea. Give me a freaking break.
I'm a perpetual dumper of Hedron.
Oh, so stupid. Apparently you don't understand Hex, because you could go buy a lot more Hex with your Hedron.
You could buy a lot more Hex. Oh my God.
If you would pay attention, but whatever. It's neither here nor there. So needless to say, this is really bullish. I'm telling you guys, the only thing, or I should say the main thing, in my opinion, that we need in order to get the Hedron, ICOSA, HSI auctions really booming again is to see, we don't need the ICOSA price to get back to the ceiling with Hex.
No.
But if it can get closer so that people feel more comfortable selling, creating Hex stakes, selling them back to the ICOSA contract, having more stakes to bid on, that will really ramp up everything. So anything that can be built to incentivize people to buy ICOSA off on the market, to push it back up there, is incredibly bullish for the ecosystem. I know that Alex has talked about forking Rocket Pool as well and potentially using ICOSA as the insurance token in that. I mean, it is... I thought about rebalancing some of my Hedron and ICOSA and considering swapping that for some other things like Pulsechain or Pulsex. I am currently
I won't in Pulsechain. Yeah. I won't in Pulsechain. I rebalanced some of that on the Ethereum side a little bit for me. I did, but not on Pulsechain. I'm leaving all that there. I like my position in ICOSA. I've done really well at establishing a good size position, and it would suck to give that position up, and that's when you get left behind.
Yes.
That would talk about a punch to the gut. Like you become a large player in an ecosystem, and then you lose faith, give it up, and then that's when it takes off because all these different other protocols that Alex is doing. And I that's another thing, guys. Remember, you're betting in the operator. we're betting in Richard Hart, and that's why I got no problems with anything that's going on. I also made a bet on Alex. I was buying Hedron when it was at all-time lows. I was participating in Icosa, even though when it's not hitting the ceiling price, because I am betting in the operator. Even though this might not be working right now, I know Alex, he's my second favorite dude in crypto. This is going to be an amazing ecosystem. It's going to do just fine. And that's because I'm betting and that's not financial advice. It's just what a way I believe, right? What I think. And I'm betting in the operator. I know that he's capable of pulling this off and will pull it off. Same like Richard. He is going to pull. Freaking Richard could do whatever he wants. I mean, the guy is freaking amazing. He's a genius. He's a freaking genius. And especially when it comes to owning and running businesses, marketing, just, man, super, super bullish in the whole ecosystem. Alex, man, is so smart. I can't even stress. I've been trying to get him on our show. He agreed to come on our show. And then, he's just hard to get a hold of. I can't get back down. I'm like, bro, you said yes. Come on. Respond back.
Hey, if you guys get on Twitter, tag us and Alex. Let's get him on the stream. It'd be fun to chat with him. Yeah. This is good. So we went over this a little bit earlier, but for those of you that are tuning in a little bit late, so it sounds like there may be some people that are going to take their Pulsechain tokens and bridge them over to Ethereum so that there will be wrapped Pulse over on the Ethereum network that people could swap into. And if you swap it into those, when you bridge that wrap Pulse back to Pulsechain, well, now you'll have regular Pulse that you can go transact with and do things of that nature. I would imagine that pool is probably relatively thin, especially early on. Make sure that you're checking liquidity pools, things of that nature. If you don't know what that means, reach out to somebody that does.
Don't just push buttons.
Yeah, don't just
without reading.
My gosh.
Without reading.
We have our own group where we do real estate and crypto. We're helping our entrepreneur and real estate buddies do crypto. And one of our guys sent me a screenshot where they were trying to do a swap. And I said, why are you doing that? And they said, oh, I don't know. And I was like, well, freaking don't do it. Don't do it then. If you don't know, if you don't have a very clear reason that you can verbalize back to me about why you're doing something, then don't do it. And they were like, oh, okay, I'll take a breath. And I'm like, look, we don't need to do anything right now. It's cool. So be wise out there. Be wise. Absolutely. It only takes a couple of bad clicks to really shoot yourself in the foot. Yeah, what about Hawaii? Hey, Hawaii is great. It's expensive though. You're not going to save any taxes.
And I don't save any taxes. I love Hawaii.
What I understand.
I've been out there many times. I would live there if it was a tax-free zone.
Yeah,
but that's what Puerto Rico kind of is.
Yeah, I did see somebody give the proposition. In fact, there was another chain that they came out. It's a small one. I'm not familiar with it. I can't even remember the name. But they said that they were going to make some changes to how Zen is managed on the chain with the gas so that it won't take priority over other things, which should mitigate the gas on that chain.
Huh.
I think there's a lot of things that could be implemented to really mitigate how this all works.
You could probably make it where it's not auction style. Right. So it's like pushed to the back of the, of the mempool when a transaction goes through it, and it gets filled. It'll get filled in the mempool. It's just not taking priority, and it's not creating the auction type style. Yeah, I think I saw the same post that you saw. That's the thing. There's so many different things that we could do, I think, to
there's so many solutions. It's not something to be worried about, in my opinion.
Here's one thing too. People are like, well, Richard Hart could cut it out, right? And then there's a one side of the argument. Well, that's imposing on freedom of speech. But if your freedom of speech prevents this guy from having freedom of speech, now you have a problem. We see it in the United States all the time, right? We have freedom of speech here, supposedly. But even still, when we did have freedom of speech, if that guy's freedom of speech is imposing on this guy's freedom of speech or taking his rights away one way or another, then this type of freedom of speech should be outlawed, right? And we see this all the time. And that's kind of what's going on with the ecosystem right now. Although I don't think that's the fix. The fix could be let's evolve and figure out how to, allow the situation to take place without cutting them out. But there's an argument there. And I've heard the reason why I thought of that is because I heard people arguing about it in Twitter yesterday. And so we'll see what happens. Whatever I know is I made my bet with my operator, and I know he's going to make the best decision possible to make this ecosystem flourish.
Yep, agreed. Money Gang's on. What's up, Money Gang? If you guys
Money
aren't following
Gang,
Money Gang, checking out his channel, do it. He's got some excellent info.
Excellent. I was in the Twitter room with him on, I think it was like Friday night, or when I had like no sleep for like 2 days. It's like I think I was deranged in that Twitter space. Like I was still going off euphoria. It was awesome.
Right. Tom, oh, there you go, Corey. Automatic buyer. I actually think there's a decent chance I take my Tesla to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you get a break. I also thought about, like, I could put it in a storage, and then like have one of my close friends Turo it out when I'm not here.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
I could come home and use the car when I'm here, so I'd have a little bit of a passive income when I'm gone from it. And I thought about something like that too. And yeah, I don't want to sell that thing.
No, I'm with you. I really like my Tesla.
I love my C8.
Especially once you start like customizing it. Mine's wrapped, and I've got some cool things that are like specific to me, and it's just there's emotional investment there.
There is.
Probably in an unhealthy way for me. Let's see. If a 10,000x is too much, man, I see Hex doing another 10,000, though RH will do everything to make Hex go up the most. I mean, that's I don't know. He could.
It's his first baby. We know that.
Yeah. When you have 3 children or 4 children, I guess, with the ink token, do you do everything you can to make sure that best one is the one that gets
I only have one.
all of the good things?
I love her with all my heart. Do you love any of your kids one and more than the other day?
No, and I don't make my little boy that was our first, like, I don't give only him all of the best opportunities. I don't feed him only the best food and not the others. Like, that's not how it works. And so, once again, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with the narrative where people are like, well, Richard Hart built this for Hex, and so like that's what's going to perform the best. Maybe, and I hope it does. And we've packed our bag, so like either way, we're chilling, we're good. I anticipate all of Richard Hart's stuff on Pulsechain to do.
That was really funny that you was mentioned. I had one of my buddies who I didn't even know who was in the ecosystem text me this morning. And he's like, hey, man, should I swap all my Hex for PulseX? I'm getting 460 to 1. And I have no idea what kind of like portfolio this guy's got. I have no clue he was even in crypto as a long-term friend I've had from way back in the past. I'm like, bro, like I have no idea what your portfolio looks like. I said, for me, I'm trying to hold an equal portion of all 3 assets as much as I possibly can. I'm probably more PulseX heavy weighted than the other 2, and that's fine. I love PulseX. But I'm trying to be where if one takes off over the other 2, I'm not going to be like, oh, crap, that sucks. I made the wrong bet. Try to be as much as you can. This point moving forward, especially bringing in new capital, be as much diversified over the 3 as you possibly can, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, excellent comment here. Maybe you just don't want to wait that long. People with smaller bags will have to, unfortunately. Yeah, like your time horizons are just longer. If you bet a little bit, yeah, you wait longer, which is fine for the massive gains. Do we burn PulseX or Pulsechain to buy on the PulseX exchange? Great question. So if you swap something on PulseX, then essentially you're burning PulseX. You're on the exchange. If you come in and you're utilizing Pulsechain, well, that's a great question, Corey. You and I were talking about this the other day. I'm having a brain fart right now.
It burns both.
It burns both at the same time, right? Because if you're on PulseX, there's the buy and burn, but PulseX is built on Pulsechain, so you're utilizing that. And so the validators are getting rewarded, and they're sending that off to the burn address, right?
There you go. But you don't, let me clear this in the air. You yourself don't burn PulseX or Pulsechain to get like Pulse. It's not like that. But yes, it burns both assets every single time when you're doing a transaction. The one caveat to that is that PulseX is a buy and burn, where Pulse is just a burn. The buy is what makes green candles happen, not burning. If burning was what made green candles happen, we would have saw Pulse Dogecoin go to the moon because they burnt like 3/4 of the supply when the Pulse Bitcoin protocol launched. We didn't see that. You need to buy and burn. It's the buy action that pumps charts.
Yeah, right. Oh, I've seen this. I've seen this around. Yeah. Do you think the future competing dexes that will launch on Pulsechain jeopardize PulseX? I mean, I think the analogy of different fast food restaurants. So if a Burger King is built in the neighborhood and a Firehouse Subs and a Wendy's, does that make it so people don't go to McDonald's anymore? No, it doesn't mean that they don't go to McDonald's anymore. And everybody has different preferences and things. And so I don't think it's a huge, massive concern, especially if that's where all the liquidity is on the chain. If that's where the majority of the liquidity is, imagine if you go out to eat and there's 5 different restaurants in your town and 4 of them only offer one thing, but the 5th offers a variety of things and they're reasonably priced. Where are you most likely to go? Where are you most likely to go to that 5th one? And that's what Pulsechain is compared to other potential dexes that could launch on, or that's what PulseX is, in my opinion, compared to other dexes that could launch on Pulsechain, because that's where all the liquidity is due to the AMM bot. That was a stroke of genius, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. And there's, like you said, there's going to be different flavors. Like we know the PP token guys are launching their 9-inch decks, and they're going to have a whole different spin on it, though. It's like this whole meme coin DEX narrative just for meme coins, and you can stake your meme coins and yield farm your meme coins. That's what it's all about. It's about the meme
but you
ecosystem.
Can do all that on Pulsex. Like, I don't.
But it's a different sauce. It's a different flavor. It's just a different. The people who believe in the PP token and the original Pulse Doge, not Pulse Doge. You know, there's 2 Pulse Doge. I get the original Post Doge. Those guys are going to use that DEX, and they're going to stake their Post Doge in there, and they're going to do all they have some other features in there for their meme community that you could do over there versus that you could do on PulseX. There's some extra stuff in there. It's just, bro, it's like, do you want McDonald's? Do you want Burger King? It's gonna go down to that.
I think it's a little bit different. To me, it feels a little bit different if you were early to Hex. So imagine like your buddy brings the first McDonald's into your town, and they say, "Hey, do you want to be an early investor in my McDonald's?" And you say, "Sure," and you give some money, and it goes incredibly well. And then that friend of yours says, "Hey, I'm gonna go and create this other cool stuff that's gonna benefit this McDonald's that we all got rich from. Doesn't that sound great?" And you say, "Well, actually, I think I'll go over there and compete with you." And I'll say, "Oh, well, but this is a little bit different." When really they could go do all of that same crap on yours. I'm just like, I'm not a fan.
I see what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I'm not sacrificing for it. The sacrifice, it's funny how they it kind of sucks for them. I think they timed the sacrifice right at Pulsechain launch. Like any new money I got right now, I'm talking like every dollar it's going into Pulsechain and PulseX and PHEX and all those beautiful assets over there. I might be bargain hunting some fame, might be bargain hunting some fiat. I don't know yet. You know, maybe some liquid loans because I played that strategy wrong. I ended up staking all my liquid loans for 2 years. I wish I had some now for when the liquid loan protocol goes live. I could go in there and provide liquidity with it in their stability pool, whatever it's called.
I think Crypto Elite. So here's the caveat that I think is really interesting. And this weighs in my decision, I should say, and how I'm weighting my bags. So you got a copy of your Hex, which is cool. I think that, the liquidity is already thin with Hex. It's been that way since the beginning, whereas one could argue with Pulsechain and PulseX, is the liquidity going to be thin like Hex so price can move like Hex? And I mean, nobody knows. We will see. Time will tell. And so that's one thing that I think there's a lot to be said. Hex is established. It has the community. It has the people that love it. We are betting on Hex as well. I hope it does. I hope it does awesome. Yeah, really excited about Hex.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to place. I want all three to do well, and I'm building my bags in a way that if all any of the three do well, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he says, I'll wait a little, wait for my hex to rise before buying any Pulsex. And that's where you got to make a determination. Like, what happens if Pulse rises much more quickly than your hex, or Pulsex does? Well, you would have been better off swapping it today if that was your intention of what to do with your hex. And once again, all these things are unknowable, so you've got to make a decision as to what to do. Yeah, a great strategy. Bring in new money. We're big advocates of that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. In my opinion, Pulsechain is the dumb pipe. It's true. Those dumb pipes have done really well. So I like dumb pipes, especially when they're made out of gold. That's what I would say this is like, or that's how I feel about it. But you're not gonna. And then once again, you guys, I think so many people think they have to be in one camp. And there's you're just lacking so much wisdom in that. Like, you don't just do one good thing. You don't only eat steak your whole life, or only, nurse from your mother your whole life. You don't do one thing. And so that's where, in our opinions, I want to be diversified across the Richard Hart stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, we've been going after it for a while this morning. Is there any other questions that you see here that really jump out to you, Corey? I apologize, we're not going to get to all of it today, you guys, but this has been awesome to have everybody in. We really appreciate you guys. Seriously, we're doing our best to pump everybody's bags, and we mean that. We feel like we are one of the most open channels that you're going to find in the community. We're not going to fill you up with a bunch of bullshit moon math and give you unfair expectations and tell you to do the opposite of what we're doing. Like, we're just not advocates for that. We've been burned before in the community by listening to the wrong people that gave terrible advice, continue to give terrible advice. And a lot of people want to go over and pat them on the back and say, you guys are so cool. What a bunch of freaking liars.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that we're truth tellers. I see another truth teller in the chat, my good old buddy, Randy Halarski. He's another one, guys. You can go follow him. He's an amazing truth teller. And that's why I vibe so well watching his channel. And I want to be the same. I want to make sure that, even though we're talking about only our bags, we're never giving financial advice, but with our bags, we want to talk about what I anticipate the truth to be out of this scenario and try to see through the narrative, because, man, crypto is all about narrative. Remember, guys, it's PvP, player versus player. That's what crypto is. So you got to be careful what you're buying into and what you're believing. So, yeah, absolutely. So we'll kind of end on that note. It's been absolutely an exciting weekend, guys. It's been awesome. So much fun. Make sure you hit the likes, hit the subscribes on your way out. We appreciate it. We're going to continue moving along. We'll be doing a show probably tomorrow, but then I'm leaving Wednesday, so I won't be on. And I don't know if Dane will be hopping on or not, but we'll probably.
Yeah, I might man the ship. I've got some free time, and
okay,
it's fun to do. So I might man the ship. I'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, plan on jumping on. I'll be here. If you want to see my warm, smiling face, you can tune in with me later this week, and it'll be fun. And hopefully, Corey will get some updates from Corey about the meetup. I was gonna go out, but my whole family's sick, and to leave my wife with 3 barfing kids is a great way for me to not be married anymore, and I would like to stay married. So
it's tough. Baby girl's been sick. She was sick for like a month and a half, man. She had a hard time getting over that, and she was same coughing, barfing, runny nose. I mean, she's just now coming around. It sucks.
Right. So cool, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Catch us tomorrow.
See you guys.